All right, this week we're going to talk about a single verse in the Bible. It's from Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. Some of you already know what that says. In the King James English Version, it says, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." Of course, the Lord being what they write instead of writing Yahweh, the name of God. So let's talk about this verse. I know that over the years, many years ago, before I started studying Hebrew and all that kind of stuff, when I read that verse, I was actually taught, I certainly thought it, but I was actually taught that to wait on God was just to kind of sit around and wait for God to do something. And there's a little story that I heard someone tell one time. They said the floods came in, and this guy, the water got so deep that this guy is on his roof, and somebody comes by on a boat, and they say, "Jump in, we'll save you." And he says, "No, I'm waiting on the Lord." And so the water gets so deep, he climbs into the tree that's just above his house, and the helicopter comes by and says, "Jump in the basket, we'll save you." And he says, "No, I'm waiting on the Lord." I forget there was three opportunities for this guy to not lose his life, and then he lost his life waiting on the Lord. I don't really remember the story very well. Some of you are probably familiar with it, because this was the idea. You're waiting on God to do something, because they that wait on the Lord is going to renew my strength and make me run like an eagle or something. It's like, no. Let's talk about these words. Our first word, I don't remember the punchline. Oh, yeah, Donna reminded me of the punchline there. She said, finally he dies, he gets to heaven, and the Lord says, "What gives?" or something, and the guy said, the Lord said, "I sent you 3 angels to save you." The guy says, "I was waiting on you, God. What happened?" And he says, "I sent you 3 angels to save you." I don't know. I can't remember what she just said to me. My mind had already moved on. So let's go ahead and move on. They that wait. Let's talk about how you wait on God, because it's very important that we know how to wait on God. It is from the Hebrew word kavah, and which is 6960 if you're going to try to keep up with me. It says to twist, to bind, to twist, to bind. It's like tying something up. To be strong, robust. For the notion of binding fast, tying fast, is applied to strength. And then they give a couple of examples in Hebrew and says, in other words, a rope of ropes. Then it says, it's given an example from the German, but it says it's derived from the notion of binding fast. And then it says to expect, to await, perhaps from enduring. Okay, now that comes from the English, not the Hebrew. That's nonsense. But it's written down. It must be true. Anyway, that's completely nonsensical. To expect anything. Okay. So if it's followed by a word like food, it would be to expect food. If it's followed by the word house, it would be to expect a house. not exactly nonsensical, but not exactly the way it's used in the Bible. It's just, I should say this really isn't English, this is German, where this idea came from in the 1800s. But of expectation is part of it for sure, but not in the way it would seem reading this lexicon. This is to expect the Lord, in other words, his aid, to fix one's hope on him. And this is where I'm going to try to clarify the difference here. To when we say we expect, it's like our thinking is, I'm expecting God to deliver food to my door at 5 p.m. this afternoon. And so I'm waiting with that expectation of this thing happening. But it's not right. To the idea of expectation here is that's the wrong word. It's the idea of hope. I hope that God will provide my need. And my need may be that I need food at 5 p.m., or my need may be that I need to find a job so I can pay my bills, or something like that. But this is of hope, not expectation. It is of hope. So you might want to mark that out in your Jusinius if you're looking at it, because it's very wrong. It's not about what you expect from God. You should never expect God to give you something other than, unless you're talking about, I expect God to be truthful with me. I expect God to be righteous, and to judge me. The things that God does, you should expect. The things that you should expect, that which should be expected from God. But you don't expect things. You don't expect. But the reason why food is brought into it is because if you're living according to God's law and you're doing everything correctly in your life and all of that, you can expect that God is going to tend to your needs, to the degree that God tends to our needs. I mean, he knows when a sparrow falls, as Yeshua once put it, then he's going to tend to our needs. So our expectation is that he will tend to us. Our expectation should not be that it will be at 5 p.m. It's going to be in his timing, which may be 5 p.m., but it may not be. So you have to know the difference in this expectation. It can't be some selfish thing, something that you want. It's got to be based on who God is. He's righteous, he's holy, he's just. You would expect that from God and can expect that from God. But when it comes to things, let's not go there. Let's hope. That's what we should do, is hope that God will bless us in some way. And like for us, just recently being given a home, I did not expect that. I hoped for it. One day we would have a nice home to live in, but I wasn't expecting that. You know what I mean? So let's keep that straight. Okay, there's the negative side, which we're not interested in. But I like this in Nephal, to be gathered together. Properly, it's mutually to expect one another. Or in PL, it's to be wound together. It's used of nations. Okay. This can be a little tricky here, so we're going to go back and look at a word that is what they call a kindred root. What? Oh, hey there. Let's talk about a kindred root. We're going to look at the word echad. The word echad is generally translated as the word one. One clock, one chair, one whatever, the ordinal number one, right? But it's so much more than that. To unite, to join oneself together, to collect oneself. Um, let's see. There's the fact that it does mean one. Okay, I'm not getting a lot of help here. Let me explain this. Echad is a word that comes from the idea of the joining together. And you've probably heard me give this example before because it's a very good example. When you put together a rope, I used to think that every strand in the rope was exactly the same length and exactly the same size, every strand. Doesn't turn out to be so true. Pulled apart a rope one time just to see what it was like, and there was strands of all kinds of different lengths. I mean, from very short to very, very long. And these things had been spun together in smaller groups, and then the smaller groups were spun together in the larger groups in some cases. In other cases, all of it was just spun together in one single row somehow, the long, the short, the wide, the thin, all these different things were wound together as one rope. And the idea, the picture that we're supposed to see behind this is the what makes God one. It's not that he has a son and he has a Holy Ghost and he is the Father. It has nothing to do with the Trinity whatsoever. It has because the Trinity is not in the Bible, not in the Hebrew text, not in the Greek text. It's only found in the Latin and the English. That's something that came about probably because of the work. Well, it had to have come about from because of the work of Jerome and his Latin Vulgate, just because it didn't exist before his time. And even then, he wasn't talking about a Trinity; he was talking about duality. But that morphed into Trinity within a few hundred years. But anyway, that's not important. If you take three small strands that are inside a rope and you tie one end of it to the bumper of one car and you tie one end of it to the bumper of another car and pull them apart, drive them away from each other, well, it's going to break that. In fact, you can hold it in your hands and break it. There's no strength in that. But if you take a whole bunch of those strands and you wind them very tightly together and just add and add and add until you've got a good thick rope out of that. Now you tie the two bumpers together. Be careful, you may pull your bumpers off. I'm just saying. Watch the videos on YouTube. They show it all the time. So anyway, it becomes so strong and it's very, very hard to break. Well, the idea of God being one is that he is so strong he cannot break. Well, that's not three things. Three strands does not make up God, right? What makes the strands of God? What are they talking about? Holiness, righteousness, justice, judgment, truth, strength, power, glory, and on and on it would go. In fact, you couldn't find enough adjectives in all of the languages put together that, that wouldn't even cover a fraction of the attributes that make up God. And it's because of all of those attributes that God is one. He is powerful and strong. And that's what they mean when they say God is one. But you cannot separate echad from the idea of the ordinal number one, meaning that there is only one God. And he is not three in one. That's nonsense. When they talked about Yeshua being the Son of God, it just look at the story of Moshe, of Moses going into Egypt. What's the first thing God told him to say? Release my son, Israel. Well, how's Jesus the first son if Israel's God's son, right? Oh, he's the only begotten son. Okay, I accept that. But why did they call him the Son of God? Because he was a Jew. That was God's people, the Jews. They're the only people God has ever had. Because Judaism is the only religion God ever gave. The Torah is the only covenant God ever signed. He wrote it with the finger of God. That's an idiom for God signed it himself. So not only did he write it himself, he signed it himself. Boy, I'd like to see that tablet, or actually those two tablets. It'd be really awesome. And by the way, they're not two big old gravestones. They're probably no bigger than, this each. Anyway, we know that from archaeological digs. That's what tablets were. That's the size the tablets were in that time frame, in that area. Anywho, so God is one because he's built up all this stuff. Yeshua is God in the flesh, not the Son of God. It did not say, behold, a child is given, he'll be called Wonderful Counselor, Prince of Peace. He's not called Ben Emmanuel. He was called Emmanuel, God with us, not the Son of God with us. He was called Everlasting Father, Almighty God. Hello, it's God in the flesh, not God's Son in the flesh. God did not send his child to do his bidding. God was the child. So what's the Holy Spirit? Hello, that's the Torah. The Bible says it repeatedly. It even says it in the New Testament. It's just that they added a few words and you don't get to know that anymore. So anyway, you understand that this twisting and this binding is important. They that twist and bind themselves together with God are they who wait on God. These two words mean almost exactly the same thing. They are like I said earlier, they are a kindred root. They mean essentially the same thing. So, how do we twist and bind our lives together with God? I mean, I can't even see the guy, right? Or the gal if you're a woman. Anyway, well, that's actually pretty easy. As we live out our lives according to God's law, then we're living out our lives exactly the same way God lives his life. The law is God's lifestyle. I wish the West knew this. I wish that Jews knew this. It is God's lifestyle. God does not kill. He does not steal. He does not destroy. Things get destroyed, but he's not the one that does it. Uh, I guess you could blame it on him if you want to, if he gives the command. But anyway, God does not commit adultery. He does not want his neighbor's stuff. He does not. Think of the Ten Commandments. God lives by that. He doesn't bear a false witness. He never has. He never will. Think of the 613 laws. God helps his neighbor get his ox out of the ditch. If he's asking us to do it, I promise you, he's willing to do it too. And I know by personal experience one thing I know it's an idiom, but I know by personal experience that God has helped me get an ox out of a ditch more times than I could count. God has helped me get through things, helped me accomplish things that unless God had helped his neighbor get his ox out of the ditch, it wouldn't have happened. I hope you understand what I'm saying here because it's idiomatic. Everything in that language at that time was idiomatic because it was an idiomatic language. It doesn't mean that things are not literal, but it does mean they didn't have to be. There did not have to be a flood. There did not have to be an ark. Was there? Probably. I don't see any reason not to believe it. I don't see any reason to beat my head against the wall with all these people who say it didn't happen. Who cares? We got to learn the idiom, learn the idiomatic idea behind it, because that's what helps us to grow and to live and to bind ourselves together with God. The better we understand the idiomatic nature and the parabolic, if you will, maybe I should be using the word parable because maybe you would get it a little better. You may get it just fine. I just don't know. There's nobody sitting here saying, oh, we get it, move on. I don't know. But I'm just trying to find words to help you understand that as you don't bear a false witness, as you tell the truth, as you help your neighbor, as you don't eat what you're not supposed to, as you celebrate the feast, as you wear the ZZO, that is you waiting on God. That is you twisting and binding your life into God's. But more importantly, as you learn the law, as you show up on Shabbat and you listen and you take note, whether it's a mental note, because some people don't need to write things down. I need to write them down, but some people don't need to do that. But as you take notes, however you do that, and you apply that to your life, you are imitating God Almighty. That's how He lives. So you're imitating Him. You are twisting and binding your life into His. And the more we do that, the more He binds and twists His life into ours. That's how we wait on God. So they that wait on God, what are they going to do? Well, it says they're going to renew their strength. So let's start off with the word for renew. That's 2498 if you're looking it up. Almost went too far already. Uh, Here we go. To slip, to glide, spoken of a swift motion of anything smooth, the primary idea being that of smoothness and slipperiness, as of fat things. To pass by, hence to pass on. They're saying it's used to some degree of people who have passed on to the next life, and I suppose you could use it that way. And the idea of piercing through, of course, is used with this saying. Remember, in Hebrew, one word has a lot of meanings. Let's look for the one that applies here. To change, to interchange, to alter, to cause to receive or sprout forth as a tree, properly to produce new buds or leaves. Whence, with the addition of the koach, to gain new strength, to renew one's self, and they give Isaiah 40:31 as an example. So they're going to slide through to strength. It's not like you have to, lift the weights and do the jumping jacks, and it's not like you're having to work for whatever this thing is that's going to renew. It's saying it's going to come easy. It's saying that you're just going to glide onto this thing, and even within this word, there's the idea of strength in this word of renewal. I'd almost bet this is also the word. Yeah, they don't say it, so I better leave that out. But anyway, they're going to renew their strength. So let's jump to 3581, and I'll try to tie these two things together because they go together. Oop, I just lost my place. Oh. Okay, here we go. Koach. That's what I read a while ago. When it's added to koach, it's the idea of strength, power, might. Let's see. It's used of the power of God quite often. It is, in a bad sense, it's used of violence, but that's not, they don't use that of God in that sense. Especially used of virile strength, or virile, however you say that. You are my strength, the son of my strength. That's when a man or a woman talks about their oldest son, they call him the son of their strength. That's a Bible thing there. Let's see, what else do they have for us? They talk about in Genesis 4 the strength of the earth, speaking of the fruit from the fruit trees and the food in the fields and stuff like that. They called that the strength of the earth. Okay. It's probably all that's really important. So we're talking about what you think of as strength and power and might. You're going to renew this strength. Now, does that become Hercules? No, it's the strength that you would normally should have. Let's say your dog tired tonight and you get up in the morning and you feel like you've been renewed because you got to sleep and your body was able to repair itself, and this is the kind of thing we're talking about. But this is renewing your strength kind of at a different level here, because this is inner strength. It's not about physical strength, although that's going to be a part of it, because just as I said, you go to sleep, you wake up, you have more physical strength. That is part of it, but it's not really the idea here. The idea is the inner strength. When you start on the path of Torah, you you don't have a lot of trust in God. You can't. You don't know him very well. You haven't twisted and bound your life together with his. You don't really know how to live according to God's law and thus imitate God and live like he does. You don't know a lot about that, so you can't apply much. And as you learn things, you begin to apply them. You don't generally apply them fully, and oftentimes you apply them completely backwards. But the Bible is written in such a way so as to build on every little concept, builds on the next. Everything is tied together, and it all builds and builds and builds and builds until you're doing it right without even thinking. So that's that inner strength, that inner core of who you are to become, that finished product, if you will. That's what's building up inside of us. That's the strength that we're talking about in this verse. This inner core, this inner strength, this inner relationship with God is building up. And by the way, it's not even hard. It's not even hard. It comes easy. So you're going to build up that strength. They shall mount up with wings. I like this one because I don't know if you know this, but this is an idiom. Because, you're not going to grow wings. Just saying. Anyway, so mount up. Let's look at 59:24. This is kind of fun to do this. Can't wait to get back on the law, but this is kind of fun too. I forgot the number. 59, 59:24. Where am I? I'm almost there. I tried bookmarking the numbers last time, and I felt like it took me more time to find it doing that than it than just looking it up. 24. I'm going to have to find the root. They don't have it here. They just have the word over. I forgot what I was looking at. Here's my page. All right, so it's Allah, which is 59:24. They don't give you anything but the word over. Let me find the root here, and we'll go from there. Oh, here it is, spelled different. 59:27 is the word you should be looking at. To go up, to be high, lifted up, also to go up. The Germanic languages, to the same family belongs the Latin root allo, alesco, altus, altar, with the breathing at the beginning of the word, blah, blah, to kind of tell you how to pronounce it properly. As to the German root, we don't care. Yeah, it is very often used in speaking of those who go from a lower region toward a higher. For instance, of those who go to Judah from Egypt, because Egypt is down, Judah is up. From Texas to Oklahoma, we're down here, they're up there, that sort of thing. And it is used quite a bit that way. Let's see. Also, those who go up to the sanctuary. That's very important. Zechariah 14, 16 to 17 use it that way. Those who go up to the sanctuary. And it says sanctuaries haven't anciently been built on high places, as also the monasteries and stuff like that. They used to do that. People would go in, especially in the pagan world, would go in and build their temples on the highest place that they could. The Jews did that as well, so that everybody from miles around could know where the temple was, and so the pretty much every religion did that as best they could. And that's where you get the steeple on churches and stuff like that, because the Jews did something very similar to that at times. They would put this rod going up from the top of the building, because if they weren't at the highest spot, they would build that, what we think of as, what did I call that? Steeple. They would build that thing way up high so that if you couldn't see the building, you could see the steeple, and you would know where your synagogue, your church, your shrine, whatever. That's why those started, was so that people could find them. I don't know if you guys knew that. Where was I reading? All right, so yeah, so it went on and said these things were normally built on mountains and stuff like that. It says inanimate things are also said to go up, like smoke. The smoke rose up. The vapor, if you will, from steam would rise up. Just you get the idea. To increase, to become strong, used in battle. To overcome, to be an overcomer. A garment, when put on, is said to go up. It's interesting that they say that. I don't recall reading anything like that, but it says they say that. To be made. To be made to. That's weird. Be brought up is to be made goop. So it says. And then, of course, in the negative, it's to be driven away. It says to be elevated, to be exalted. It's used of God, obviously. To cause anyone or anything up. To lead up, to take up. It's said of the smoke going up from the altar. Of overlaying something with something. I guess that's where you get the idea of the clothing, because it's overlaid, so it's going up. That's why they say that. Anyway, so we talk about, let's see, where did we wind up? They will go up. Yeah, they will mount up with wings. So it's of this ascension, this going from a lower place to a higher place. So we should not be getting the idea that there are wings going to grow on our back and we're going to fly. It's saying that you're going up, going up. And the interesting thing here is the word for wings. It's way here in the beginning of the book. It's not kanaf. That one surprised me. I was expecting that to be kanaf, but it was not. It was 80, 83. Okay, it looks like I'm one page too far. Okay. 83. A wing feather, with which one soars, such as that of an given Isaiah 40:31. The dove is distinguished for feather. And think about what it's already said. It said that you're going to get your strength easily. It's just going to be like slippery. You're just going to slide right on into this strength, right? And now it's saying you're going to rise up like a eagle, except you only need a feather. You like that? I like that. You only need a feather, a single feather. That's what we get from that. Let's see. From the root to strive upward, to mount, to soar. It's given some kindred roots. All of these kindred roots have the notion of above, being over, and hence a passing over, surpassing. It is applied to any power. So I still like that. We only need a feather. You will mount up with a feather as an eagle. So you're going to ascend, you're going to rise up, you're going to, uh, you read these things in Psalms and it says, oh, I'm lower than a snake crawling under a stone. And oh, God, you give me power and strength as your glory and all that. And I heard a female preacher lady that's real famous say, David, he was bipolar. Oy, oy, oy. No, he was not. It was a writing style. He was not bipolar. But what you were supposed to learn, they that want to destroy me are many, but you, O Lord, are my strength and my shield, right? Well, that's the whole idea. When you're feeling like everybody's against you and woe is me and everybody's here to get you and everything's going to go bad, if you turn your thoughts and your attention to, but you, O Lord, are glorious and powerful and wonderful and all of that stuff, that's how you get through that. That's how you get your mind off of the woe is me part. That's how, you think about that which is good and lovely. And somebody wrote that somewhere. But anyway, that's the idea, right? So I forget why I was saying that. You're going to mount up with wings as eagles. That is an idiom. You're not going to grow wings. You don't even need wings. You only need a feather, right? But you're going to rise above the fray. You're going to rise above it all. What happens when the eagle flies up very high? It can see for miles and miles and miles. You can see everything that's out there. You can see whatever its need may be. There it is. I'll fly over there instead of wasting my time flying in circles back there because he's way above it. He can see the end picture. We talk about this new home and it's in such bad shape and the whole roof is going to have to be torn off and replaced and all that. Yeah, but I can see above that. I know what it's going to look like when the roof is repaired. I know what it's going to look like when it has the new shingles on it because I can rise above that, partially because I've done it before. That helps, right? So the more we learn the law and the more we learn how to apply that law to our lives, the more that we live our life the same way that God lives his life, the higher we rise. It's like a God just blowing that feather up in the air and up it goes. Because he said it was going to be easy. I like that. I really like that. As eagles. They shall run. Let's see, that's going to be 73:23. They shall run. Well, that'd be nice. I needed to run last weekend to get to my wife when she fell. And I don't run, I waddle. I waddled as fast as I could, though. Where's this? It's roots. 73. Not even far enough. No, I'm not even far enough. Let's see if we can work our way over here. Okay, well, timing seems to be pretty good today. Okay, 73, 23. Still a little too far forward. Here it is. Roots is our word. It says a few things. Blah, blah, blah. Yak, yak, yak. Nothing important. Figuratively, I have not sent those prophets, but they run. Betake themselves to the prophetic function with evil. I'm not sure if that's Jeremiah or Psalm. It's hard to tell by the way this was written. That's, of course, in the negative. Let's see if we can find somewhere where he actually tells us what this word means. It's used of runners. People actually run races. It's used of horsemen, warriors, Persian kings, whose business it was to carry the mandates to the provinces. Those would be the runners. The guards of royal messengers of the Hebrews. To run as a chariot, to cause to run up, hence to lead up hastily, to bring quickly, to cause to hasten. Yeah, it's from that idea of rushing, of being very quick. So they will be quick as opposed to slow. They will rush as opposed to take their time. They will see, we've already built up all of this strength and we got it easily, and we're floating above the fray, and we can see a long distance off, and we know what's coming. If there's a storm way off, miles away, we know it's coming way before anybody else does. Isn't that a neat thing? And so then there's this idea of quickness and of rushing and all of that, and they're going to contrast it against our next word, which is weary. So I'm going to jump over here to third. I'm going to mark my place just in case. We're going to run over here to yaga, which is, where am I? 30:21. 30:21. Sometimes it just jumps a lot of pages. Okay, here we go. Yaga. To labor, especially with effort and toil, so as to become weary. You're going to rush to become weary. That's not what's being said. Uh, let's see. It's used of people who labor in vain, of course, and those who do not. Which one? It's of the thing that somebody labors over, to be fatigued, to be worn out. So what is he saying? No, you're not going to be worn out. You're going to be the opposite. You're going to be the opposite of worn out. I used to do stuff in the ministry, and you just ran across the same thing all the time. The same. It was different people, same story, different, different song or same song, next verse. Verse number 450,000. You just heard it over and over again, and you do these things. You'd feed these people, and you give them a place to live. Back in the late 70s when we ran the outreach and all of that, and it didn't help. They would be back the next week. They'd be back the next month. And, nothing ever. And after a while, you just got weary of hearing the same excuse, the same lie, the same problems over and over again. And you just feel like, I'm getting nowhere. Well, why? Well, as we spoke about, I think it was just last week, that's not our service to God. And when we get to thinking that what we do in those things is our service to God, we'll find life to be a weary. But when we do our service to God and we live out the Torah the way we're supposed to, it's going to be the total opposite of the idea of weary. It's the rushing and the strength and um, the excitement that goes with it. And this is. Do we remember that guy that used to do exercising with the oldies, Richard Simmons? That we're going to be Richard Simmons. And I used to think about that when I saw him. My God, what I wouldn't give to have half of that energy. Maybe not what he gave, but something else. But that's really the idea. I think that's the best example I can give you of what's being said here. There's a total opposite. This should not be wearing us out. This should not be making us feel like we're not amounting to something, that we're not arriving at that place. That's not what tying and binding and waiting on our God is supposed to do to us. It's supposed to give us strength and energy. The living out the Torah is the ultimate energy drink. It is sugar without the sugar crash. I like that. We're going to run and not be weary. They will walk and not faint. So we might have just enough time. Let's look at 32:12. That's Yalach, which is from Halach, of course. 32:12. We're almost there. Here it is. To go, to walk, and that's it. I probably better find Halach. Oh, where'd it go? It should be back to the. Oh, I'm not going far enough to the back. I got to find the root. They didn't give us any information here. Oh no, I know Halak is in here. Oh, I'm still in the Yod. No wonder I'm not finding it. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting my brain together here. Okay. Oh, I think that's the wrong. Yeah, I'm the wrong letter again. Oh, I'm almost there now. Not sure which way to go. Oh, here it is. Here it is. 1980. Oh, that's a jump. To go, to walk, to go along. Kindred roots are blah, blah, blah. Used also of inanimate things as a ship because it goes along, travels on the water. The place towards which one is going commonly takes the preposition el. We don't care about that. The following construction of this verb should be noticed with an accusative. It is to go through or over a place. That's almost the same thing as we just got through. This is of the going through to going over. We've already had a word that had that. We've had two words that have had that idea already, not predominantly, but they've had that. Now it's predominant. So it's as usual in Hebrew, it's that steady build up of this same idea, building upon, building upon, building upon. And so we're looking at that idea more intently here, and then we're moving on to, let's say, to go with, to have conversation with someone, to walk, in other words, to live, to follow any manner of life. Does that sound like something I've been saying over and over? Here it is, the word where I get that idea. To follow any manner of life. In our case, what manner would you follow? You're reading the Bible. Hello. There's only one given. There's only one way, one path given by God, and that's the Torah. That's it. There are no other ways. There is no other way to get there. To follow in one's footsteps, to imitate him in life and manner. Hence, to follow God, to follow the precepts of God. There you have it in writing. I didn't just make it up. Just saying, just throwing it out there. It's God's lifestyle. Okay, then we're hitting the negative here to go on forward. To go on adding. In other words, it's like remember that the strength was the fruit of the field, right? Your strength is the fruit of your living out the Torah, the fruit of hope and happiness and joy and all of those things. Those are the fruit of the Spirit, I think they're called in the New Testament letters. That comes. The Jews came up with that. That's not a Christian thing, but you get this strength has just been building and building and building, and now the path that we're on, the path that we're walking on at this point, is that path of God's lifestyle. It's that path of imitating God's lifestyle, that path of imitating God Almighty. Does that mean we can say, let there be? Well, yeah, if you're talking about building a house or something, you can, you know what I'm saying? You're going to have to do it with your own hands. I don't think you can go, no, it's never going to be that way. But that's how we create, because we're in the image of God. We are not God, right? I love this, to go forward to this of the rising up. And it's even to be made to go forward. After a while, it's as if this thing, it's like you're on this hamster wheel going, running in place, and after a while the hamster wheel is turning that's what Torah does. After a while it drives us instead of us trying to reach to it. Eventually it's what drives us. I love that. So they're going to walk, and then 32:86 and not faint. It's going to be a jump. 32:86. Oop, I'm on 36. Whoops. 32. Oops, now I'm on 30. The pages are sticking together now. Getting closer. 32:86. Here we go. Ya'af. To go swiftly. To run. And the opposite of that word is to be fatigued and worn out. That's funny, they say that here too. So what was the usage of that? And not faint. Okay, so this is being used I thought I better check. This is being used in the negative. So your walk is, your gait is quicker. It's easier. Your path is straight. It may be narrow, but it's very straight and it's very smooth, and it's actually very easy because the yoke of God is light. His burden is not even hard. It is easy. It's us that make it hard, and especially in the beginning, because it seems like there's so much to learn. Well, quit trying to learn everything at once. Just take what you get when you get it and let it build upon itself, and eventually you'll be that feather floating up high above and can see all around you and see what's coming on the horizon and know that the enemy has come to attack, and prepare for it, not be blindsided by it. So we have that idea of the running and the having energy that just cannot end, and that's being contrasted against the running for fear, the being completely worn out, that your next step you're going to trip and fall and the bad guy is going to get you. It's the opposite of that. So They that twist and bind their lives together with Yahweh shall slide easily into their strength, their might, and their power. They shall rise up like a feather blown in the wind as eagles. In other words, very high. They shall run, they shall be Richard Simmons and not be weary. They will walk along a straight and narrow, even, smooth path and not be worn down by the life itself. My wife and I have reached that place. Of course, we've been on this road a very long time. We've reached that place where, I was blindsided by something here recently. I was over it in 24 hours. Something of that magnitude would have knocked me down for years back in my younger days. It wasn't even 24 hours. I was like, okay, moving on, because part of me saw it coming, but part of me ignored it. Still not flawless. Not trying to get there. I mean, living toward that direction, but knowing I'll never reach the flawless direction. Besides, everything in my past is still with me, so flawless is out of the question. But perfection, biblical perfection, comes from twisting and binding our lives into God's, living out the Torah every moment of our life in every way, always doing what God would do. What would God do? I may not be able to say, let there be, but I can be what He's asked me to be. And it's not even hard if we do it right. If it's hard, we're doing it wrong. Shalom, shalom, y'all.
The blessing, Be'ivrit. Yevarecha Yahweh beyish meracha. Ya'er Yahweh panai v'lecha vihunecha. Yisa Yahweh panai v'lecha v'yasim lecha shalom. And in English, may Yahweh cause you to lie down so that you may rest. May He touch and caress you. May He prepare you for what is ahead. May He watch over you. May He keep you from harm. May He cause goodness to grow in you and take away the bad. May He arrange your life and cause you to flourish. May He cheer you up and gladden your heart. May He cause His light to shine through you. May He show you tenderness, favor, and love in His presence. May He show you kindness and be delicate towards you. May He show you His generosity, mercy, compassion, and desire for you as it comes forth from the depths of His soul. May He lift you out of your pit and deliver you from the things that hold you prisoner. May He draw you to His chest and cast His eyes on yours. May He show you His love and desire for you as He cradles you in His arms. May He bear your punishment and pardon you of your sin. May He take you for His bride. May He establish a foundation in you. May He place His name on your heart and mind and make your body His temple. May you be His treasure. May you always be on His mind. May He draw you near and comfort you when you are afraid. May He assure you there is nothing to fear because He is with you. May you and all that concerns you be at peace because He is your friend. Amen.